Long ago in the land of Israel, there lived a young shepherd boy named David. Every day he cared for his father's sheep, guiding them across green hills and protecting them from danger. David loved playing his harp and singing songs, and he trusted God with all his heart. Although he was young, he had learned to be brave while watching over his flock. One day, the people of Israel faced a terrible threat. Their enemies, the Philistines, had gathered for battle, and among them stood a giant warrior named Goliath. Goliath was enormous, towering over everyone else, wearing heavy armor and carrying a huge spear. Every day he stepped forward and shouted a challenge to the Israelites, demanding that someone fight him. The soldiers were terrified. No one believed they could defeat such a powerful giant. One day, David's father sent him to deliver food to his older brothers, who were serving in the Israelite army. When David arrived at the battlefield, he heard Goliath mocking the Israelites and challenging them once again. David was surprised that everyone was so afraid. He believed that no giant was greater than God. When he asked why no one would fight Goliath, people laughed at him because he was only a shepherd boy. But David remained confident. Soon, King Saul heard about David and invited him to speak. The king warned him that Goliath was an experienced warrior and that David was still very young. David replied that he had protected his sheep from lions and bears and that God had helped him through those dangers. He trusted that God would help him now as well. King Saul admired David's courage and offered him armor to wear. David tried it on, but it was too heavy and uncomfortable. Instead, he chose to fight with the tools he knew best. He picked up his shepherd's staff, gathered 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream, placed them in his pouch, and carried his sling. As David walked toward Goliath, the giant laughed loudly. He could not believe that a young shepherd boy had come to face him. Goliath mocked David and threatened him, but David stood firm. He declared that while Goliath trusted in weapons and strength, he trusted in God. Then the giant charged toward him. David did not run away. Instead, he ran toward the giant. Quickly, he took a stone from his pouch, placed it in his sling, and swung it around faster and faster. With a swift motion, he released the stone. It flew through the air and struck Goliath directly on the forehead. The giant staggered, lost his balance, and fell to the ground with a mighty crash. For a moment, the battlefield was silent. Then the Israelites realized that the giant had been defeated. They cheered with joy, and their courage returned. The Philistines fled, and the battle was won. David's victory became one of the most famous stories in history. It showed that true strength does not come from size, power, or weapons. True strength comes from faith, courage, and determination. David was not the biggest person on the battlefield, but he believed in doing what was right even when others were afraid. His story reminds us that we all face giants in life. Sometimes those giants are fears, challenges, or problems that seem impossible to overcome. But just as David faced Goliath with courage and faith, we can face our own challenges with confidence and perseverance. No matter how small we may feel, we can accomplish great things when we believe in ourselves, stay determined, and do not give up. That is why the story of David and Goliath continues to inspire people around the world, teaching generation after generation that courage, faith, and a brave heart can overcome even the greatest obstacles.